I don't need your business. You know what? Maybe Disney does. Maybe you're a tool, you're a pawn in this film. You didn't write it, you didn't direct it. You have nothing to do with the creation of Snow White.
Right.
You should shut up and do the job.
Snow White, a timeless classic. Or at least it used to be. In 2025, Disney attempted to reimagine the fairy tale. The result was a controversy, a backlash, and what some now call one of the biggest cinematic failures in modern Disney history. At the center of it all is Rachel Zegler. In this video, I'll break down what went wrong in 10 parts. Let's begin. The film did not perform well. In fact, it flopped badly. Snow White 2025 failed to generate the box office revenue expected from a Disney live-action remake. It was projected to be a hit. Instead, it is now predicted to lose hundreds of millions of dollars. The backlash began early. It only escalated. Many blame Rachel Zegler, the lead actress, for alienating audiences with her interviews and social media activity. Her political and ideological views became part of the conversation.
Playing roles like that. So it was definitely, when it got announced, it was a huge...
You mean your guess is as good as mine,
It was like
ethnicity?
trending on Twitter for days because all of the people were angry.
For a film meant to be universally appealing, it became divisive. This did not help the film's chances. Empty theaters, negative reviews, general disappointment. These were the results. Disney has rarely seen such failure from a property this iconic. Critics and audiences found problems everywhere. Acting, directing, writing, cinematography. Nothing escaped criticism. People expected Disney's usual high production standards. Instead, many described the film as chaotic and inconsistent. One viewer called it an unsettling fever dream. Another said it was incoherent. There were reports that scenes lacked continuity. Characters lacked development. Dialogue felt shallow. Even visual effects, normally a strength for Disney, were called out for being awkward and artificial. CGI dwarves replaced live actors, causing further frustration. The feedback was not isolated.
And to not truly understand that it's over. She posted this.
Across online platforms, the film received dismal ratings. On IMDb, it reportedly dropped to 1 out of 10. The consensus was clear. The movie failed in nearly every creative aspect. Snow White merchandise was expected to perform well. It didn't. Sales were weak. Some lines were allegedly canceled or pulled from shelves. Others were quietly discounted or never released at all. Retailers responded to consumer disinterest. Disney merchandise typically enjoys cross-promotional success. But this time, that synergy failed. The connection between film and product didn't materialize. Parents were hesitant to buy toys and accessories from a movie that had become controversial. Kids didn't connect with the characters. Fans of the original story felt alienated. Merchandise sat unsold. This contributed to the overall financial disappointment, another sign that the film had failed to engage its target audience.
The original
Disney does.
cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird.
Super weird.
So we didn't do that this time.
Yeah. One major change was the removal of the romantic subplot. Snow White and her prince, a central element of the original, gone. Replaced with a new message: female empowerment, independence, a leader without a love interest. Some supported this, others didn't. Many felt it was forced. They believed it betrayed the heart of the original story. The love story wasn't just a subplot. It was part of the emotional core. It gave the original its fairy tale magic, its timeless appeal. Removing it without a strong replacement left a void. Instead of warmth, audiences got detachment. Instead of wonder, they got messaging. The classic fairy tale became a platform for modern ideology. The shift was not subtle. It was overt, on the nose.
These people, and this is the difference between a business owner or someone who does very well for themselves in the private sector to become wealthy. This person was born looking a certain way and has a God-given ability to lie.
Dialogue and scenes revolved around themes of rejecting love, rejecting tradition, rejecting rescue. The character arc was rewritten, but not rebuilt. Critics say the message wasn't the problem. The execution was clumsy, out of sync, tonally inconsistent. It didn't feel like a natural evolution of the story. It felt like a checklist, like an agenda, a statement without substance. Instead of inspiring, it felt preachy. Instead of empowering, it felt alienating. People didn't feel represented, they felt lectured. Disney had modernized stories before. Cinderella, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin. These films introduced updates, new dialogue, new character traits, but they preserved the soul of the original stories. Snow White 2025 didn't. It replaced the soul with slogans. It removed the charm. It removed the romance. It removed the joy. And what was left didn't resonate.
Not another human being in the theater.
Many fans wanted to like it. They wanted to support the new vision. But the story didn't give them a reason to stay. Viewers said the film felt hollow, mechanical, lifeless. The emotional connection was missing. The heroine didn't grow. She declared. She monologued. She instructed. But she didn't evolve. Online, debates raged. Was this feminism? Was this empowerment? Or was it just a missed opportunity? Critics on both sides agreed on one thing. The storytelling was weak. The dialogue felt unnatural. The characters lacked chemistry. The motivations didn't make sense. Even supporters of modern reinterpretations found themselves disappointed. This time, many say, Disney went too far, or didn't do it well enough.
She was proud of it. Not another soul in the theater, which is why they can act up like this.
The backlash grew louder, not just because of what was changed, but because of how poorly it was done. A story beloved for generations was turned into something unfamiliar, something cold, something disconnected, and audiences responded with silence, or worse, with rejection. The film's production was chaotic. It reportedly went through 3 separate rounds of reshoots. Each attempt aimed to fix problems. Instead, they added more. The story felt patched together. Scenes were rearranged. Characters were reworked. Transitions became awkward. The editing was jarring. Instead of a cohesive narrative, the final cut was a collection of disconnected scenes. The budget spiraled out of control. Over $250 million spent. That didn't include marketing or merchandising. A movie this expensive needs massive turnout to succeed. That never happened.
Yeah, because there's nothing more effective than 19-year-olds educating the rest of the voting public while yelling, "Okay, boomer."
Financially, the project became a disaster. Creative decisions added costs. The film failed to justify them. Rachel Zegler made many public statements. Most of them backfired. She criticized the original story. She dismissed the prince. She talked about modern feminism. Some viewers agreed. Many didn't. Her interviews became viral for the wrong reasons. Her tone was often seen as smug. Her phrasing came across as dismissive. She seemed to distance herself from the classic source material. Instead of celebrating the legacy of Snow White, she deconstructed it. Publicly, repeatedly. She called out those who disagreed. She labeled critics as being resistant to progress, as backward, as outdated. This inflamed tensions. It didn't build bridges. It built walls.
The movie has all kinds of problems that could be pinned partly on the producer. Like the producer did not do a good job. Nobody who produced this movie did a good job.
Audiences who grew up with the original felt alienated. Some fans who were open to change felt talked down to. Instead of sparking dialogue, her comments sparked resentment. Clips from interviews were shared across social media, again and again, often without context. But the impression remained. Instead of unifying audiences, her remarks deepened the divide. Many felt insulted or dismissed. Instead of promoting the film, her interviews became part of the controversy. A distraction, a headline, a target. And the more she spoke, the more entrenched the opposition became. She wasn't just defending the film, she was attacking the criticism. Directly, sometimes aggressively. And in doing so, she became the face of the backlash. Disney couldn't control the narrative. They tried to shift attention. They tried to redirect the conversation back to the film. But it was too late. The story had already spread. The clips were everywhere. The quotes were already being dissected. On podcasts, in articles, in reaction videos. The damage was done. What should have been a publicity asset became a liability. A rising star became a lightning rod. Her comments overshadowed the movie. Public perception of the lead actress became entangled with the movie's failure. She wasn't just the face of the film, she became the symbol of everything fans said went wrong with it. Whether fair or not, the association stuck. And it amplified the fallout. The film's poor reception was no longer just about story or visuals. It became personal. It became political. It became cultural. And Rachel Zegler, at the center of it all, became impossible to separate from the controversy. Marketing was supposed to be aggressive. It wasn't. Snow White was originally positioned as a tentpole release, a major title, a global rollout.
Rachel Zegler went to go see Snow White. What do you notice about the theater? There's no one. Rachel Zegler is sitting in an empty movie theater watching her movie, giggling hysterically and maniacally.
But the strategy changed. As negative reactions mounted, Disney reportedly pulled back. Quietly, deliberately, promotional efforts were reduced. Interviews and media appearances were minimized. Cast press tours were shortened or avoided altogether. Ad campaigns that had been prepared months in advance were either paused or never launched. The signs were clear. Something had gone wrong. Internally, Disney seemed to recognize the problem. The tone shifted. What began as confident turned cautious. Executives didn't want to throw more money at a sinking ship. The phrase, "cut your losses," became relevant. Instead of launching a full-scale media blitz, they tried to release the film with as little fanfare as possible. A soft rollout, a quiet weekend. Let the news cycle move on. Let the audience forget. But that didn't happen. It didn't work. The internet remembered, and the internet doesn't forget. Critics continued. Fans kept discussing it. Social media kept resurfacing old clips. New reactions kept going viral. Memes were made. Edits were shared. The conversation grew louder. What Disney hoped would fade instead escalated. Silence from the studio was interpreted as confirmation. Scaling back didn't stop the negativity. It just confirmed that even Disney had lost faith in the project. It was a rare but telling decision. Disney is not known for backing down. Historically, they have stood by their major releases, even in the face of controversy. This time was different. The tone was subdued. Marketing budgets were quietly reassigned. Retail partners reportedly reduced Snow White shelf space. Tie-in merchandise appeared in clearance sections. Even online platforms where the film was promoted began shifting focus. The usual excitement that surrounds a Disney release was absent. No global premiere events. No major cast appearances on late-night shows. No celebratory red carpet photos flooding social feeds. Instead, there was distance, hesitation, an intentional downplaying of the film's existence.
And a lot of what you see with Zegler is really just this pretty common Gen Z mentality and approach to work.
Not denial, but disengagement. To those paying attention, the message was unmistakable. Disney was bracing for impact. They were trying to contain the damage, and in doing so, they sent a signal, not just to fans, but to investors, to partners, to the entire industry. The confidence was gone. The studio had moved from promotion to damage control, from rollout to retreat. CEO Bob Iger became part of the story. His leadership was questioned, his decisions scrutinized. Critics pointed out that this project reflected broader issues. Disney had relied heavily on remakes. Snow White was supposed to be another success. Instead, it was a miscalculation. Iger said Disney's mission was to entertain, not send messages. Many said this contradicted the film's tone. Shareholders were displeased. Board members raised concerns. The failure exposed weaknesses in Disney's creative and strategic direction. The brand took a hit. Rebuilding trust would take time, and better decisions. Hollywood took notice. Snow White 2025 became a warning, a case study in how not to handle a remake. Name recognition no longer guarantees success. Nostalgia isn't enough. Stories matter. Execution matters. Pushing a message is not a problem, but doing so at the expense of story structure is. Other studios are watching. The era of automatic remake profitability may be ending. Audiences are more discerning. They expect more. Big budgets don't impress. Good stories do. And when companies ignore that, the backlash is swift and expensive. This film changed the conversation. Future live-action remakes will now face greater scrutiny, from script to screen, from concept to execution. Nothing will be taken for granted. Fans will demand fidelity to source material, or at least coherence. Investors will demand caution with budgets. Executives will have to rethink strategies. The failure of Snow White wasn't just about one film. It revealed a larger disconnect between studios and their audiences, between intention and perception, between message and entertainment. The lesson is clear. Adaptation requires care, and when you lose the balance, the audience walks away. Would you like me to continue with a tailored conclusion or include a call to action for viewers?